Hello and welcome. This is the Mellowtime Movie Hour bringing you my new segment, Hold or Fold. And with this, it's going to give me an opportunity to release some shorter videos on movies that have become franchises or movies that could become franchises. For example, before Joker was released, there wasn't a sequel planned, and I could have talked about whether I thought there should be a sequel or not. And I'll give you the short version. I don't think there needed to be a sequel. But I'm interested to see where this sequel does go since we're getting it anyways. Since the new Ant-Man movie marks the starts of Phase 5 for the MCU, for this video we're going to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm not the biggest fan of Marvel, but truthfully that could all be fixed by doing one simple thing. They need to fold on the extended universe and let these franchises be their own thing. And I'm not going to be talking about individual franchises in my video, instead I'm going to talk about the MCU as a whole and kind of review where we are now and how we got here. Now, for the most part, I don't have a ton of issues with phases 1 through 3. I tend to like phase 1 the most, and I'll get into that a little later, but for how ambitious the MCU originally was, I do think they did a fairly good job at making it connect. Not everything made sense, but when you have 20-something movies, that tends to happen. But truthfully, the issues of the MCU extend beyond just continuity. The MCU's biggest problem is that every Marvel movie is exactly that, a Marvel movie. With the two exceptions I mentioned before, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and one other exception in Shang-Chi, the majority of these movies are the same. And even those movies can't escape all the Marvel traps.
Anything he wanted. If he asked me to burn the world down, I would have asked him.
Beef or vegetarian? Roll out of the chicken, so I can only offer you beef or vegetarian.
Vegetarian would be great.
Yeah, same.
You could swap out most of the characters with another character and the movies wouldn't really change. In the beginning, the Avengers actually had somewhat distinct personalities in their own movies, but after a while they all start making the same kind of quippy jokes, even if that doesn't fit in with how their characters were portrayed previously. And let me be clear, even earlier Marvel movies had humor. It isn't like these movies were ever super dark and serious, but humor wasn't at the forefront of the script. And truthfully, Guardians of the Galaxy, for as good as it was, kind of ruined the MCU. Let me explain. I like Guardians of the Galaxy because I think that the tone and script they developed for the movie worked. It was a fun movie and didn't take itself too seriously, and that might have upset some comic book loyalists, but overall, I think that Guardians of the Galaxy hit on what it was trying to be. Unfortunately, Marvel decided to then make every single movie like this, and to be fair to Guardians, Joss Whedon's first Avengers movies did use the quippy Marvel humor before Guardians even existed. So it isn't all on Guardians of the Galaxy. However, I do think that Guardians was the first Marvel franchise to establish the humor-filled type of script for a franchise. Once we got to Phase 3, the characters lost their unique personalities a little bit and make the same types of jokes. They mostly talk the same way. Here's a couple clips and you'll see what I mean.
Did you hear what I said?
Stop listening after you said we need a plan.
Like your plan, except it sucks, so let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Why didn't you just reprogram the synapses to work collectively?
Because we didn't think of it?
Your haircut? Notice you've copied my beard. What the hell is that?
Everyone's got a gimmick now.
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude.
Sorry, Cap, this won't kill you, but it ain't gonna tickle either.
Wanda, I think you hurt Vision's feelings.
You locked me in my room.
Clearly, retirement doesn't suit you. You got tired of shooting golf?
Well, I played 18, shot 18. Just can't seem to miss.
Those wings carbon fiber?
Is this stuff coming out of you?
Does anyone have any orange slices?
But for me, Phase 4 is what officially destroyed the MCU for me. Most of these movies are just trying to be comedy movies now, and it's okay to have a funny action movie, plenty of movies have done that. But in a universe as broad as the MCU is, consistency does matter and everything went out the window in Phase 4. I don't even recognize Thor anymore. Eternals was different, I guess, and it's also one of the worst Marvel movies to come out. The logic in that movie actively contradicts itself and the logic of the MCU. I'll give you an example from that movie. So, the emergence is reliant on humanity progressing both in intelligence and population size. The Eternals say they can't interfere with Thanos unless there is a direct threat to their mission. Their mission is to prepare Earth for the emergence, which means they need to keep humanity alive. So Thanos snapping away half the universe does affect their mission and they should be allowed to interfere. And it's sad, because these movies really could be a lot better with fairly minor changes. Fat Thor is played up for jokes, but if you really think about it, it's actually a pretty sad thing to see. Dude is basically an alcoholic, but think about it. He lost pretty much everything and everyone, and he blames himself for it. That's actually pretty deep stuff, but it's Marvel, so we gotta play it up for laughs.
Noob Master, hey, it's Thor again. You know, the God of Thunder? Listen, buddy, if you don't log off this game immediately, I'm gonna fly over to your house, come down to that basement you're hiding in, rip off your arms, and shove them up your butt!
The damage is not too bad. As long as the foundations are still strong, we can rebuild this place. It will become a haven for all peoples and aliens of the universe. Now those foundations are gone, sorry.
There's a scene that could have actually been pretty good, where even after everything that he's been through since he tried to kill Thanos, Thor still sees that he's worthy of wielding the hammer. But even that scene is played up for laughs.
Oh, wait! What am I looking at?
Oh, sometimes it takes a second.
And all these jokes do is undermine the characters because everything is just one big joke. Nothing really matters in these movies. If Thor destroys the temple he's meant to protect, it's funny. So how do we fix the MCU? It's simple really. The MCU needs to break up and let these franchises stand alone. I think one of the issues with Phase 4 in particular is the continuity and logic errors between Phase 4 and the previous 3 phases. In my No Way Home video, I talked about a few issues I had with the movie. But the thing is, none of those criticisms are really a big deal if the movie wasn't trying to play into a broader universe. Remember the thing about Eternals I pointed out? It wouldn't have mattered if it was set at a different time period or in its own universe. Maybe the snap didn't happen, or maybe it's before the snap happens. I don't care how you do it. Another reason the MCU needs to break up is to give these new franchises a chance to reset. They could establish their own tone and have writing that actually fits the characters in the context of the movie being made, rather than trying to pigeonhole every character into talking the same way. One thing the DC Universe got right was at least making movies that fit into a broader universe but still work as standalone movies. And even if you don't like all the DC movies, you can at least admit that they feel distinct. Marvel's biggest flaw right now is literally every single movie is a comedy. And I'm by no means saying that movies shouldn't have jokes, but why are Thor movies being written like Guardians of the Galaxy movies? And the real issue is that it takes away from the characters where quips are a trait, like Spider-Man. I fully expect Spider-Man to make comments and fights, but why is every single character doing it? The movies don't have to be dark and gritty, but some tonal consistency would improve the movies a lot. You don't need to make everything a joke to have an effective movie. I've seen comedies with better tonal consistency than a Marvel movie. 21 and Over with Miles Teller and Justin Chon even knows when to reel the comedy back. One other thing I think I have to point out is the declining quality in the visual effects. Marvel has used a lot of green screen and CGI in the past, but for the most part, it usually looked passable, and at its peak, Marvel had some of the best CGI in the industry. But I think in Phase 4, people are really noticing the decline. I think this is definitely a show don't tell kind of thing, so let's show a couple good examples first. Robert Downey Jr. got injured while filming Iron Man 3, so they had to put his face on a stand-in's body, and honestly it fooled me. Some of the CGI in the first Doctor Strange movie is also very good. The scene in the Avengers when Tony jumps out of the building and suits up is good. And of course, Thanos was very well done. Let's talk about the other side of the spectrum, the bad CGI. So everyone knows the infamous fight between Killmonger and T'Challa, but if you've forgotten, here's a reminder. In Multiverse of Madness, Undead Strange looked bad, his Illuminati eye looked bad, the scene of them talking to America's parents looks bad. The scene in No Way Home with Peter and Strange fighting has some obvious green screen. This floating head in Thor Love and Thunder looks terrible. I don't have footage of the new Ant-Man movie, but MODOK is in the movie, and I legitimately thought this was a fan-made rendering and not the actual thing that would be in the movie. Like, what is this? And I normally don't talk about the shows, but everyone knows She-Hulk has awful CGI. The effects in Ms. Marvel are slightly better, but still not great. And then obviously Moon Knight has a few bad examples, from the actual Moon Knight suit to the jackals. For context, Phase 4 started in January 2021 and ended in November 2022. Since then, we've gotten 7 feature films, 8 shows, and 2 specials. That's a lot of material, and it's clear Marvel is sacrificing quality for quantity. At this point, Marvel is too committed to the MCU to back out now. And the movies are financial hits, so for them they don't really need to change anything. But I'll tell you how we make this happen. Go see Avatar: The Way of Water. Go see that in 3D IMAX or at least in 3D. If they have the light up popcorn bowl and the cup, buy those too. Don't go buy tickets to Ant-Man, go give Big Jim your money instead, and make sure to tweet at James Cameron, his handle is @JimCameron, and tell him we want to see Jake Sully and the whales from the movie go take on the Fire Nation in the next movie. Every time you're on social media, go like the Avatar memes. There's a bunch of them. There's one right now. You could go buy some merch, they have shirts, and I think a Lego set. I know it might be far-fetched, but together we can break up the MCU. And that about wraps up this video. Leave a comment down below giving your thoughts on what video you might want to see next. This has been the Mellow Time Movie Hour. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe.